Hey guys, Joe here from JCS-Charting. That was our DAX update. Hourly chart from Wednesday the 16th. We were going for an initial impulse to retest that June all-time high, and we were focusing on 24,381 to run higher within that blue sequence. And that was Friday afternoon. That projection worked out very precisely to retest that June all-time high. We triggered above 381, which opens still higher targets. We started to pull back, but the pullback was much deeper than I thought, and even deeper than this one here right now. Let's hop into the DAX. We're going to start off with the subcycle chart. It's a H4 time frames, etc., the cash indication, and we are looking for temporary lows. We are going to buy usually, and then we are looking for a 200 to 300 pip rally. That selling action, as we talked about in the introduction, came from that all-time high out of June, and I gave my members that hint. There is a subcycle low due on Monday. It's the midpoint. It's starting already on Friday in the afternoon, so that low we made here at 24,251 could have been the start of a new subcycle already, for the case we are gapping up on Monday. The futures, they sold towards 24,200 on Friday evening. So if we get that more selling into Monday morning, it is a buying opportunity in my opinion, because that green sequence you see here on the left hasn't been finished. We hit the first min target with that all-time high, but the second one, which usually likes to be a turning point, not the 127, the 138, 24,746, and even higher, 25,035. There is a lot of gamma exposure above 25,000. That tells me we are going to see these levels most likely before we head into a summer correction. We have a quick look at the 5-minute chart. I usually don't show that in my videos, but this one here is actually very interesting. That box here is our COH, our cash opening hour. We mark that and we use, we place expansions from that first hour, and we were hitting on Friday the 423.6, and usually a small COH, which we had on Friday, they produce a very large move intraday. This is what happened, and we were hitting that max expansion. We ended up in a very nice bullish Wilbur wave pattern. That target line runs overnight around at 24,350. There's also an RSI divergence associated with it, and I assume we are actually pushing overnight much higher, so we get my gap up on Monday morning. And there has been a new gamma update, and I just need to show you that, because that exposure here above 25,000 is exactly at 25,500 is very, very large. And these are the delta changes between the 11th and the 18th already for the September contract. Be aware that we see these levels in summer before DAX is going to correct. And once we are already here at my Discord, by the way, if you want to be a member, you're welcome to join at www.jcs-charting.com. You find plenty of analysis, plenty of indexes, plenty of stocks, and also crypto was very interesting last week. I had a member asking for Ripple 3 weeks ago, and I came up with a very bullish setup, and this is the result of it. We had that inverted shoulder, head shoulder pattern which triggered, and now we are actually ripping totally higher for these upside targets, which I gave just on time. Solana, another one, I'm also invested in that. we were looking for a shoulder head shoulder pattern. And it looks like, this is not an update, this is from Friday. I think they went even higher on the weekend. At Solana, Ethereum, same thing. We had that inverted shoulder head shoulder pattern in the chart for quite a while. I changed it a little bit because that neckline looks much smoother, and we are looking for higher targets here. This is not updated yet. That is from last Friday. Price action were at 3,600. I think presently we are much higher. Quick look at gold. That was my last update I had. That projection didn't work out as predicted, but this one here is actually, I think we are very close to trigger 3365. We're going to have a look at the live chart now. Hourly chart here, by the way. And here's a live chart of gold. Let me just set it up for you. That descending broadening wedge has much higher targets, and they actually fit very nicely into that blue sequence. I still have 3365. I came up with that magnet level somewhere during that decline. And yeah, we are still going for 3365. We were retesting that green 100%, which is already active for higher. So we are quite confident that we are pushing into that zone here as well, which is also the min target zone of that blue sequence. And I think once we get here, we are also making or getting closer to these targets here of that descending broadening wedge, which had a big faker to the upside and then sold off. NASDAQ 100 cash chart, 4-hour time frame, and yeah, we are getting very close to that red resistance zone. It's in that chart for quite a while. Members know about that. We were already hitting all min targets of that green sequence. We are still waiting for the last one, so that last push is allowed to go to 23,600. It is a clean 1-2. That is a long 3 subdivided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. A very shallow wave 4. That happens quite a lot after wave 2 has been very sharp and short. And now we are moving into an extension of wave 5, which doesn't seem to stop, but so we zoom in here. And I think we're going to have a look at the hourly chart here as well. And also we checked on the gamma. We're going to have a look there as well. There are large positions way below that level here, building up since a week ago. And this is our hourly chart JFD indication of the NASDAQ. And we zoom in here a bit sharper, and we see there's a slightly close above that blue 100%. Trigger is 23,134, closed at 23,135. It's only one bip. What I don't like is that we rejected there, which was also the green 138. But we went all the way down to retest that green 100%. There are much higher targets, especially if that blue sequence triggers. We can go easily to 23,348. And even higher, there's still that target line missing. I can't really imagine we're going to hit that, but you know, NASDAQ likes to do the impossible quite often. And we're having a quick look at the smart money flow of NASDAQ. This is the last price action here from Friday the 18th. By the way, that data is provided by my partner, wallstreetkorea.com. You find the link if you want to subscribe that service in the description below. And here's what I kept telling my members for the last weeks. We're looking for that divergence. Let me show you if I can just draw it here. So we have that rally towards new all-time highs, and smart money is not really participating in that move anymore. In other words, they are selling into that rally. That is what that chart is telling us right now. This is usually a process over weeks. It doesn't happen on the day exactly. So NASDAQ is making new all-time highs for the last 2 weeks, so that divergence is already present for 2 weeks. So next week might be one of these, how should I say it, one of these weeks which bring a lot of volatility, especially, once we look at our astro cycles, they predict a lot of price craziness in the next 3 weeks. And a quick look at the Discord again, update here from the 16th, so that was Wednesday as well. This is our hourly thread of the S&P 500. Came up with that broadening top idea because the S&P likes to do that quite often, and that green line here is 6286. And we scroll a bit further down. That level has been triggered. You see it here a bit better. And we were hitting the first min target at 6308, and then we pulled back to retest that 100% at 6286. I prefer that we are running higher to get the 138 at 6319 or even higher, 6339. The other thing we need to talk about is that we triggered above that green sequence here at 6308, and that actually brings higher targets, the min targets of 6349 and 6375. I actually prefer to run higher here at the beginning of next week in order to sell from there into August. Do we have a quick look at the daily thread of the S&P 500? This here was my VIX prediction for that was from Monday actually, and I said, guys, we need another retest. Let me just zoom in here. A retest of that red dashed line in order to sell off once again into the end of the month for the VIX. This is what happened then. We got that spike. I think it was some tariff stuff again from Mr. T, and then the VIX actually started selling into Friday. Of course, we got a little spike up again. I think it's not updated. No, we got that little sell again. Excuse me, that little rally of the VIX because of that selling action at the S&P 500. But I assume we are going deeper, and I would like to test at least that blue line. Be very cautious once we hit that here. Once volatility gets all the way down here, the S&P is very vulnerable to actually sell a bit more than just 100 bips to the downside. Yeah, the Dow Jones, again, hourly chart here from Wednesday. I came up with that descending Broadening wedge shown in blue. I was going for that impulse. That impulse came. We haven't triggered that blue line here. The Dow actually went exactly as I wanted. It came all the way down. It went even deeper during the cash. It overshot that dashed line, and my opinion, we are just backtesting that line, and we are going to finish that green sequence. I'm still looking for a major divergence once we go into the daily thread. Here's, by the way, that inverted shoulder head shoulder. We are looking for that divergence here between the industrials and the transportations. So far, we have to say we have already a divergence between the industrials and the tech. So the S&P and the NASDAQ printing already new all-time highs, while the Dow Jones doesn't. This is a Dow theory. I prefer to see that here as well. But it's not going to happen yet. And we're going to have a quick look at a few stocks. I think a couple of weeks ago, a member asked about Unity Software. That was here my update about it. Couldn't determine really a cycle, but I said above 27 to 80 to 40. There is a potential for grinding much higher. And yeah, this is what happened. We finished that blue sequence on Thursday, and on Friday we went even higher to complete the whole green sequence on the dot. Here you see how accurate these sequences work. Usually these levels, they react very precisely. First the 127, the 161, and the 161 once again. This, for instance, is NVIDIA, and you see I'm just scrolling all the way back to May. We were buying, by the way. I made an X post on that as well. We were actually buying all the way down here when we made that low in April. I kept showing that bullish Wilbur wave wedge, and which one became now a descending broadening wedge. And I even posted that on X. We need to hit that blue target zone in order to turn around for the entire market. And we're almost there. Target is at 178. That the first target for that pattern, that blue sequence, has been completed, and the 100% move is at 189 for NVIDIA. We have a quick look at Tesla. This is, by the way, how it works. You just type in whatever you want. Oh, Tesla is not there. That's funny. All right, let me check here. Here we are. Tesla, I came up with that symmetrical triangle you see here in blue, and we're still looking for much higher targets. That drop came in order to make that triangle symmetrical. And then we have a look at the live chart now. Here we go. Still pretty good, right? Tesla is basically following that projection here very nicely, probably not as steep as suggested. I assume we are going to trigger that triangle with that third touch here of that upper TL. We probably see then a little correction or pullback. This is my magnet, 374. This is my absolute minimum by now. We probably push all the way to that around 100% and reject from there back into the triangle. Remember, these triangles, they are 50-50 pattern. They like to fake out in both directions first before the initial move starts, but most of the time they are just consolidation patterns within a trend. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you liked this one. It was a bit shorter than the last few ones, but yeah, I didn't find that much time here this time on the weekend. I wish you all a happy Sunday, and I see my members tomorrow at the Discord.